Every single day, somewhere in the world, a man or woman over 60 wakes up and realizes something that no one ever warned them about. The people they spent a lifetime loving, sacrificing for, and counting on are not coming. Not because those people are cruel, not because they don't care, but because life moved on, and somewhere along the way, the support system that was supposed to be there simply wasn't. If you are over 60 or approaching it, I need you to hear what I'm about to say very carefully, because what I'm going to share with you today could be the most important thing you watch this year. Most people spend their entire lives building relationships, raising children, maintaining family bonds, believing that all of that investment will come back to them when they need it most. And then one day, an unexpected illness arrives. A financial crisis hits without warning. Loneliness settles in like a fog that won't lift. And in that moment, they look around for the people they gave so much to, and discover that those people are stretched thin, overwhelmed with their own lives, and simply unable to show up the way they were always imagined to. This is not a story about abandonment. This is a story about reality. And the people who understand this reality early enough are the ones who build something better, something that doesn't depend on anyone else's availability, capacity, or willingness to show up. Today, we are going to talk about 6 pillars of support that become more reliable than family as you grow older. These are not ideas. These are not theories. These are the actual foundations that the people who thrive after 60, the ones who remain independent, energized, and genuinely happy, quietly build throughout their lives. By the time we reach the 6th pillar, I believe something will shift in the way you see this chapter of your life. Not with fear, but with clarity, confidence, and a sense of possibility you may not have felt in a long time. Let's begin Pillar 1, your financial stability. I want to start here, because of all 6 pillars, this is the one that most people either underestimate or avoid thinking about entirely. And that avoidance, more than almost anything else, is what leaves people vulnerable in the later years of their lives. Let me say something plainly. The most reliable form of support you will ever have after 60 is not a person. It is your financial independence. Now I understand that might feel uncomfortable to hear. We live in a world that celebrates love, family, and human connection, and rightly so. But here is the truth that love alone cannot change. When a crisis arrives, what protects your dignity, your freedom, and your choices is not sentiment. It is security. Think about a man named Richard, 72 years old, a genuinely good father, the kind who was always available, always generous. He helped his children through university. He lent them money when they were struggling to get on their feet. He showed up for every difficulty they faced without ever keeping score. He assumed, quite naturally, that if the time ever came when he needed support, they would be there in the same way. And then a serious medical issue came. The kind that drains savings quickly and leaves very little room for recovery. Richard reached out to his children, not demanding, just hopping. And what he found was not coldness or indifference. What he found was people who were already underwater, carrying their own mortgages, their own children's school fees, their own credit card balances, their own quiet financial anxieties. They wanted to help. They simply couldn't. That is the story that plays out in more households than most people will ever admit. Not because families stop loving each other, but because financial stability is not inherited through love. It is built through preparation. Financial security after 60 does not require wealth. It requires clarity. It requires knowing exactly what you have, what you need, what risks you are carrying, and what your plan is for when the unexpected happens, because the unexpected always happens. Ask yourself honestly today, if a significant medical expense arrived tomorrow, could you handle it without calling your children? If your income stopped or shrank for 6 months, do you have enough in reserve to maintain your life without panic? Have you taken the time to understand your retirement income, your savings, your spending habits, not vaguely, but precisely? If any of those questions made you uncomfortable, that discomfort is important information. Use it. The time to build financial stability is not after the crisis arrives. It is right now, today, with whatever you have to work with. Budget with honesty. Eliminate debt that isn't serving you. Build a financial cushion that gives you options rather than obligations. Because the person who controls their financial life controls their future. And the person who doesn't will eventually find themselves dependent on someone who may not be able to help. Your financial independence is not just about money. It is about dignity. It is the guarantee that no matter what happens in the lives of the people around you, your life does not have to fall. 2. Your physical health. There is something that becomes absolutely clear to almost everyone after a certain age. You can have love, money, a beautiful home, devoted family, and still lose everything that matters the moment your body fails you. After 60, your physical health is not simply a personal concern. It is your freedom. It determines whether you can travel without fear, cook your own meals, take a morning walk whenever you choose, live in your own space on your own terms. Your health is the invisible foundation beneath every other good thing in your life. And when it erodes, everything built on top of it begins to shift. The dangerous assumption that far too many people carry is this, that when the time comes, someone will take care of them. Children will step in. Family will manage. Love will find a way. But the reality is that caregiving is exhausting, expensive, and emotionally demanding. Even the most devoted children have limits. Even the most loving families have lives of their own. And placing your physical well-being entirely in the hands of others is not a plan. It is a gamble. Consider a man named Carl. He had been active for most of his life, played sport in his younger years, stayed reasonably fit through middle age. But retirement brought a new kind of stillness. The structure that had always kept him moving disappeared, and without it, so did the movement. He told himself he would get back on track soon. That soon became months, and months became years. And then one ordinary morning, Carl climbed a flight of stairs and stopped halfway up because his legs simply didn't want to continue. He sat on a step in his own home and felt, for the first time, genuinely old. Not in years, but in the way that his body was responding to the life he had been living. His children visited when they could. They were concerned. They were kind. But they couldn't be there every day. They couldn't undo what years of inactivity had quietly built up inside him. Carl realized in that moment that his health was something only he could address, and that every day he had spent ignoring it had been a day borrowed against a debt that was now coming due. He made a decision, not a dramatic one, not an extreme one. He started walking every morning, not far, just enough. He started paying attention to what he ate, not obsessively, but consciously. He stopped canceling his medical appointments and actually listened to what his doctor told him. Slowly, something shifted, not back to what he had been at 40, but forward to something better than where he had been the week before. Your body does not need perfection. It needs consistency. Movement every single day in whatever form your joints and your energy allow. Food that nourishes rather than burdens you. Sleep that your body actually gets rather than sleep you keep promising yourself. Regular attention to the warning signs that your body sends before they escalate into emergencies. Every healthy choice you make today is a payment into a future where you remain capable, independent, and free. And the more capable and independent you remain, the less you will need to ask of anyone else. Your health is not a gift that others can give you. It is something you choose or choose not to choose every single day. Pillar 3, your social circle. Here is something that researchers have confirmed repeatedly, and that anyone over 60 will recognize as true the moment they hear it. Loneliness is not just a feeling. It is a health condition. Chronic loneliness after 60 has been shown to accelerate cognitive decline, weaken immune function, elevate the risk of heart disease, and reduce lifespan in ways that are startlingly significant. This is not a minor inconvenience. This is a quiet emergency that millions of older adults are living through right now, behind closed doors, in houses that have grown too quiet. And the most dangerous assumption driving that epidemic is the belief that family is enough. That children and siblings and extended relatives will provide all the social connection a person needs. That blood relationships are a substitute for community. They are not. And here is why: your children love you, but they are busy in ways that are simply the reality of the lives they are building. They have careers, partners, children of their own, social obligations, financial pressures, and evenings that fill up before they even realize it. They call when they can. They visit when the schedule allows. And that is not a failure of love. It is simply the shape of modern life. But if your entire sense of social connection depends on people whose availability is limited and unpredictable, you will spend a great deal of your later years waiting for calls that come less often than you need, waiting for visits that get postponed, sitting in a space that feels much quieter than a life well lived should feel. Think about a woman named Margaret. She had 2 sons who genuinely adored her. In the early years of her retirement, the family gatherings were frequent. But as time went on, those gatherings became less regular. The sons were managing their own households, raising their own children, navigating their own challenges. They still called, they still visited, but the daily warmth of consistent human contact had quietly faded. Margaret started to feel something she had never expected to feel: invisible. Not unloved, but somehow peripheral to the lives of the people she loved most. Then she made a deliberate change. She rejoined a community group she had drifted away from years earlier. She reached out to an old friend she had lost touch with and simply said, "I miss you, can we meet?" She enrolled in a class at her local recreation center, not because she had a burning interest in the subject, but because she needed to be around people. Real people. Faces she could watch and voices she could hear in the same room. And what she discovered, there was something her children, despite everything they felt for her, could not fully provide. A sense of belonging that existed completely independently of blood. Friendships built in later life can be surprisingly deep. Community connections can carry a warmth that family dynamics sometimes cannot, simply because they are chosen freely, without the weight of history and obligation. Look honestly at your life right now. Beyond your immediate family, who do you have? Who calls just to hear your voice? Who would notice if you went quiet for a week? If that list is shorter than it should be, the work of building it is not behind you. It is available to you right now. Join something. Reconnect with someone. Show up somewhere regularly enough that people begin to expect you. The connections you build today will become the warmth that sustains you tomorrow. Pillar 4, your sense of purpose. After a lifetime of doing, raising children, building careers, maintaining households, showing up for other people's needs, there often arrives a moment in the early years of retirement when life suddenly goes quiet. And in that quiet, some people find peace, but many others find something they didn't expect at all. They find emptiness, not because their lives are objectively empty, because the roles that once gave structure and meaning to their days, parent, provider, professional, caregiver, have either ended or diminished. And without those roles, without a clear sense of direction, it becomes surprisingly easy to start feeling invisible, unneeded. Like the most important chapters are already written and what remains is simply the long, slow ending. If that feeling is familiar to you, I want you to understand something. That feeling is not the truth. But it can feel very much like the truth when purpose is absent. Think of a man named George. Retired engineer, 68 years old, someone who had looked forward to retirement for years as a kind of earned reward. And for the first few weeks, it was everything he had imagined: sleeping in, reading, long, unhurried mornings. But by the second month, the reward had started to feel hollow. By the third, he was restless in a way he couldn't name. He found himself watching the clock in the afternoon, waiting for evening, and then wondering what exactly he was waiting for. His children visited. His grandchildren were lovely, but their visits were brief and their lives were full. They couldn't fill the hours. More importantly, they couldn't give him what he was actually missing: the feeling of being useful, capable, and needed. Then George began volunteering at a local school. Nothing dramatic. He simply offered to help young students with basic engineering concepts, building small things, solving simple problems, and something inside him changed. Not all at once, but unmistakably. He had a reason to prepare the night before, a reason to get dressed with intention in the morning, a reason to feel that the 40 years of knowledge and experience he carried in his mind still had somewhere useful to go. He wasn't living in the past. He had found a way to bring the past forward into the present in a form that actually mattered. Purpose does not require a grand stage. It does not require an audience or external validation. It requires only this, that you are genuinely engaged in something that feels meaningful to you personally. Whatever that is for you: teaching, mentoring, gardening, writing, creating, traveling, pursuing goals, however modest they may appear. The point is engagement. The point is being a participant in your own life rather than a spectator of it. The more purpose you carry within you, the less you will need others to provide your sense of worth. And the more you invest in building it, the more you will understand that this stage of life is not a conclusion. It is an entirely new chapter, and you are the one holding the pen. Pillar 5, your emotional resilience. Life after 60 still delivers hard things, perhaps harder things than you expected. The loss of people you have loved for decades, health challenges that arrive without asking permission, relationships that shift and change in ways you didn't choose, the quiet weight of grief that comes with watching certain chapters of life close behind you. And here is the difficult truth about all of that. No one, not the most devoted family member, not the warmest friend, not the most caring community, can fully absorb that pain on your behalf. Other people can sit beside you in it. They can witness it. They can offer comfort, but they cannot carry it for you. And if you have built your entire emotional support system around other people's availability and capacity, you will find yourself in the hardest moments without the foundation you need most. Think of a woman named Helen. She lost her husband after 40 years of marriage. For a time, her children became her primary source of emotional support, and they gave what they could: their time, their presence, their love. But they had families of their own to manage. They had their own grief. They had jobs and children and lives that could not stop simply because their mother was in pain. Helen began to realize, slowly and a little painfully, that she needed to develop something within herself, not because her children had failed her, but because what she genuinely needed was something that could only come from inside. A capacity for self-sustaining strength that didn't collapse every time someone wasn't available to hold it together. She found a support group, people who understood loss in the specific way that only lived experience allows. She started writing, not for anyone else, just for herself, as a way of processing the thoughts that moved too quickly inside her head. She developed a daily gratitude practice that felt mechanical at first and became, over months, genuinely grounding. She didn't stop hurting. Loss like that doesn't simply end. She developed the capacity to move through the hurt rather than being paralyzed by it. She learned to hold pain and peace in the same moment, which is one of the most remarkable things a human being can learn to do. Emotional resilience is not toughness. It is not pretending. It is not the refusal to feel. It is the development of internal and external practices that allow you to process difficulty without being undone by it. Therapy, if that is available to you, journaling, meditation, or prayer. Physical movement, which processes emotion through the body in ways the mind sometimes cannot. Time spent in honest conversation with people who truly understand. The person who is most consistently, most reliably available to support you is you. Building that inner strength is not giving up on connection. It is ensuring that when the hard moments come, and they will come, you do not crumble. You bend. And then you find your way back to standing. Pillar 6, your ability to adapt. And here, finally, we arrive at perhaps the most quietly powerful of all 6 pillars. And I want to take a moment before I explain it, because I think this one is the most underestimated. If there is a single quality that separates the people who flourish in their later years from the people who find themselves increasingly diminished by them, it is this: the willingness to change. Not the ability to change. Nearly everyone has the ability, but the willingness. The choice, made deliberately and repeatedly, to stay open to a life that continues to evolve even when you would prefer it to stay still. After 60, change can feel like loss. The technology shifts and familiar things disappear. Old routines become impossible and must be replaced by new ones. People who form the landscape of your life move away, or become unwell, or are no longer here at all. The world does not slow down to accommodate what you have always known. It simply moves forward and asks whether you are coming. Many people faced with that relentlessness choose to resist, to hold on, to say I have already adjusted enough in my life and I am not changing anything further. And I understand that impulse completely. Change is tiring. Uncertainty is uncomfortable. Familiarity is genuinely valuable, but the cost of rigidity in later life is isolation. It is the slow narrowing of a world that could remain rich and wide if only you were willing to keep meeting it where it is. Think about a man named Frank, 78 years old, someone who had always found his deepest satisfaction in in-person friendships, real conversations, shared meals, the particular warmth of being physically present with people he cared about. Over the years, those friends drifted away. Some moved to be closer to their own families. Some became too unwell to travel. Some passed on. And Frank, who had always been socially engaged and emotionally alive, began to accept a growing isolation as simply the cost of getting older. Then one of his grandchildren sat with him one afternoon and showed him how to make a video call. Frank thought it was a poor substitute for the real thing, and in some ways it was. But it was also something. It was a face, a voice, a connection across a distance that would otherwise have meant silence. He started using it regularly. He joined an online discussion group about history, a subject he had loved his entire life, but never had the right people around him to really talk about deeply. He found himself in genuine, stimulating conversations with people he never would have encountered otherwise. People who matched his curiosity and his depth and his humor in ways that surprised him enormously. Frank didn't become a different person. He didn't abandon who he was. He simply stayed open. And that openness is what kept him connected, engaged, and genuinely alive to his own life. Adaptability is your protection against the inevitability of change. It is the quality that allows a closed door to become an invitation to look for another one. It is the capacity to take what was good about the past and carry it forward into a present that looks different than you expected, and find to your own surprise that something good is still there. Every stage of life has something new to offer, not instead of what came before, alongside it. And the more willing you are to remain open, the more of that richness you will actually get to experience. Final thoughts. We have covered 6 pillars today, and I want to bring them together now, not as a list, but as a picture. Imagine a person over 60 who has built their financial stability carefully and honestly, so that whatever unexpected thing life brings, they are not at anyone's mercy. Who has taken their physical health seriously enough that their body remains a source of freedom rather than a source of limitation. Who has invested in friendships and community so that their days are filled with genuine human warmth that doesn't depend on whether a family member can find the time. Who has cultivated a sense of purpose so deep and personal that they wake up every morning with something to move toward. Who has developed emotional resilience so that hardship, when it comes, bends them but does not break them. And who has stayed open and adaptable enough that life's inevitable changes become doorways rather than walls. That person is not dependent on any one individual or any one circumstance to be okay. That person has built something that belongs entirely to them, a foundation that stands regardless of who shows up, regardless of what changes, regardless of what life decides to do next. That is what these 6 pillars make possible. Not a life without difficulty, not a life without loss, but a life of genuine independence, dignity, and depth, lived on your own terms. For as long as you are here, you are not too late to build any of this. Not one single pillar. The work is available to you today, right now, exactly as you are. Thank you for watching. If something in this video stayed with you, we would genuinely love to hear about it in the comments. Tell us which pillar you feel you need to strengthen most. Your thoughts matter to this community, and reading them is one of the true privileges of making this channel. If this video added something to your day, please like it, share it with someone who might need it, and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. We'll see you in the next one.